I wanted to talk about a little bit of everything, the Will and Jada situation, because too often we put the celebrity life on this pedestal, and it's easy for us to justify some things, and it's easy for us to ignore some things. And I want to talk to a real wife, and I want her to share her story and to just kind of enlighten you if you want to be a wife, if you are a wife, and maybe you looked at the Will and Jada situation and you were kind of confused or you were conflicted. I want you to realize that someone who came from California, born and raised, lived in the projects, went to Berkeley, lawyer, wife, now in New York. She doesn't want me to say everything, but let's just say celebrities and non-celebrities know the Muse. And it's a privilege and an honor that she's going to share some of her nuggets with us today. So get ready for a powerful, sexy Saturday, and put your defenses down, ladies. Come with an open mind and with an open ear. That's all I ask. Hello, ladies and gents. It's your girl, Miss Charlotte, and you know I love for us to talk about our issues. And on Saturdays, we talk about our issues on the topics of love, sex, and relationships. And today, I have a very special guest. Her name is LaNora Williams Clark. We call her the Muse, and there is a reason for that, and you're going to find out a lot about that today. So the reason why I wanted her to be on this show, because she has some really great, enlightening thoughts that I think we as women need to share with each other. It's really good to hear from someone who is married. And I want you to remember her journey. Originally from California, grew up in the projects, went to Berkeley, became a lawyer. Now she's an entrepreneur and she's a wife, and she has a beautiful family. And now she's on the East Coast in Harlem. And she's known as the Muse to a lot of powerful people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, celebrities and non-celebrities. So this is a very exclusive, rare interview, and I'm honored to get some of these nuggets to really share with you. I don't have a desire to get married, but I know a lot of you do, so we're gonna talk about that. And we're also gonna talk about money. We as a community, we have too many of us have a bad relationship when it comes to money, and there's a reason why we lack resources, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into that whole SBA loan and why a lot of people didn't take advantage of it, and I was one of them that, thankfully for her, I took advantage of it. But I had my own, issues, and I'm sure a lot of you had your own issues, so we'll talk about that as well. So let's talk to the wifey and talk about some of your, I like some of your writings and how you manifest things. And so let's talk about the one about the wifey, the shut up.
Okay, so, I'm trying to think when I started knowing that was the key, right? Okay, so I have this sort of poster that I send to anybody who gets engaged in my circle or who asks me about my marriage or who seem to think that me and my husband have this ideal situation. And I tell them, yep, especially, it's the black girl thing. Mm-hmm. So, we're very strong and vocal and independent, and, our opinion means so much. We want a man to respect what we bring to the table, and, these things that are beautiful, but sometimes they manifest in ways that we have to be real with ourselves, that we lose our men, and oh God, I'm sitting here with Miss Charlotte because I'm saying stuff that I only say behind closed doors, but I'm gonna let her have this moment.
Yes, because it's for you.
It's for you. And this is the audience I've been waiting on, because I'm always feeling a lot like the white gaze, and so that makes me very, very, very private And so the opinions I have, I don't want to be brought forth in a public forum because it's stuff we need to talk about in private. But it's a brand new world, right? We're creating our own privacy. This is a portal. Miss Charlotte, when you go into your IG, it's a portal.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so that portal is safe. And so I'm going to come with that energy here. So let me say what I was about to say about this paperwork I sent out and why I ain't walking around with my own YouTube channel telling people about it, because it's not easy to hear, because a lot of it is sort of pitting ourselves against ourselves. Like our greatest assets sometimes end up being our biggest problem. Our greatest assets sometimes end up being our biggest problem. And so it's a 5 rule. Okay. It's a 5 rule poster. Okay. And rule number 1 is shut the fuck up. Rule number 2, shut the fuck up. Rule number 3, when not shutting the fuck up, just smile. The 4th one is when your spouse is telling you what you've done wrong, do not take that opportunity to return the favor. Do it at a different time, you know? And all back and forth, right? Argument should take place in your head, you know? And when I send that, so it's funny how I send it, right? It's 2 pictures. So it's one where you see the poster and you see my little Bible next to it, because the whole thing is obedient wife, magical life. So obedience is just a word that's problematic.
Yes.
Problematic.
Yes. Yes.
When God sent me the word obedience, I was like, okay, I'm ready. You know what I'm saying? Because he sent it to me first with him, right? And so with God. And so obedience to God is somewhat easier. The difficulty is knowing that he's telling you something. So like that was my journey to, once I knew I was to be obedient to God, I'm like, I'm more than willing to do that. Right. But I had to discern his voice. How can you be obedient? Like, obedient to what? What is he telling me? You know how we always like, send me a sign, God. You know, it's like, I asked to be sent a sign. He's like, oh, we got 30,000 signs, but are you going to read them? That's the, you know, that, or are you going to be like, nothing. You see the sign and you're like, that ain't it. You know that shit is it. You know it's it. Right.
And they got so many memes on that right now.
You know it's the sign. You know it's the sign. And so so it started with my obedience to God, right? And a lot of, you know, in Christianity, like it's like we forget, like we black girls talk about we, you know, from God, we Christians, it's like it's a whole thing, but we don't want, it's like we pick and choose the things that we want. So it was almost like a social experiment, right? Like if I truly am to embrace this spiritual journey that I was going on to kind of know God better, you know, was I gonna follow the rules? Was I gonna like find out what the rules were, you know, and really go for it? And so once I did that with God, I saw the results, and I was like, dang, there's a nigga in the room over there. I'm supposed to be obedient to him too. So let's see if I can do the same thing I did there. And then I saw all these results, and like I'm the type of person who, like Lauryn Hill says, she's a mad scientist, right? I don't tell nobody nothing. I will never ever give anybody one bit of advice that I haven't done myself, because I'm not a person who, to get to my intellectual side, I'm a critical race theorist, which means that I believe in the power of the learned experience, right? So, you know, I went to, Charlotte was saying, I went to Berkeley, I went to NYU Law School, I went, you know, and there's just an academic way to come at credibility. You know, it's sort of, you know, it has to be that 5 authors before wrote of articles, and then you can say something unique, but you better have 3 quotes, that back up what you say. And I'm like, they talking about this is not. I'm from the hood. What you got? I'm going in class and they're saying this percentage of what? I'm like, what the fuck y'all talking about? Like, are they really, like, my first year in college was like so eye-opening. I didn't realize that so many people thought that they knew about people. I didn't, like, we all sitting in the hood not knowing that, like, people are spending $50,000 at college talking about us. I ain't seen none of them. Where they getting these? Black people don't respond to no survey. We don't. So where's this data coming from? It's not credible to me. I'm not sold, right? And so, the lived experience. And so when I say to shut the fuck up, it's because I learned to shut the fuck up, like literally. Because, it was like, you feel really empowered. I want a man who thinks, equally of me. I got that. Right. That don't mean he want to hear me popping off every fucking thing he got to say.
Right, and that's what I was about to say. It starts with love and communication. And when you have a real relationship, a real friendship, it's easy to hear the word obedience because, ladies, let's just keep it real. You want your man to be obedient to you. But when you hear obedience to him, the media and what they put out there makes you push against that. But you just got to put your defenses down and really realize what does that mean. And LaNora's in a really unique situation, very successful, her own right, own money, big time, lawyer, house, owns her own. She's no joke. So she didn't need a man. So let's just be clear. But when she found love, she also found a king. This is a queen, and she found her king. In his own right, very successful, very intelligent, works for a Fortune 500 company. So you got to realize when you bring those two types of intelligent people who love each other and are God-fearing, there's a different communication. There's a different ego that is kind of like put down on the table, and it becomes more of a teamwork. So it's easier to be obedient to someone that loves you, got your back in every sense of the word.
Who's worthy of your obedience.
Worthy of your obedience.
Yes,
I like
that you picked up on a good caveat, because my husband loves my write-up, and the beauty is there's fine print, and most people don't read the fine print, and so he loves it. And his thing is, this ain't gonna work for everybody, because not everybody has someone in which they want to be obedient to. You get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And just to sort of connect myself a little bit more to even Will and Jada. They said 25-year bad marriage. Me and my husband been together 20 years. We've been together my whole adult life. I met him when I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
So that's a beauty within itself, but it's also a sort of being honest with the audience too, because when you grow, when you have all that time to grow, you know what I'm saying? That's very different than coming to something at 40 or at 30. And so I'll caveat that instead of just acting like, oh, you get, like we were mad scientists about it. We started off as babies. And so I didn't get to shut the fuck up until about 30. You know what I'm saying? And then I started using it and seeing in practice that, it just was good. It was sort of like he would say something, I want to say something. He doesn't, and then it becomes saying something back and forth. And a lot of that, it was because it's so hard to hear. When you feel like you're a bad bitch and you try so hard and you want to, and someone got something to say, you want to hear it, you want to grow, but like in that moment, you like, well, you ain't either, and you ain't, you know what I mean? He's like, baby, like, you ain't keeping shit together. Well, maybe if you gave me more compliments, I would. all that. That's all
It's
defense.
ego,
It's
it's
defense.
yep.
And you
Emotions.
don't really, like, you want a nigga to be able to tell you. You want
Yes.
him to tell you.
Yes.
And if you're constantly in combat, then you're gonna be less close. And so, when
and that's on both sides, because
100%.
women, we're always ready to school and teach our men. We're ready to put them in a place, tell them what they're doing wrong, how they can do better, but it's harder for us to receive it. And that's what the obedience is about, and saying shut the fuck up. It sounds harsh, but all it really is saying is just listen instead of talking. Just listen. And when you really listen to what they're saying, it's to benefit you. I had an interview years ago with Finesse Mitchell, and he said when he walks out the house, he wants his lover, he's married now, but he said he wants his wife to tell him, babe, you missing a loop in your pants, or babe, you got the wrong color socks on. The same way he would tell her, babe, you need to paint your nails, or babe, your track is loose on your weave. You want someone to care enough about you to tell you about yourself. So that's just vain stuff. But when they're telling you something to grow, like, babe, you need to get a job, or babe, you need to go back to school, or babe, you need to stop drinking, or babe, you need to stop being so negative, because your negativity is bringing negative energy into our house. Whatever it is, you got to learn to listen, shut the fuck up, listen, take it in, and be really grateful that someone cares enough about you to tell it to you in your face together. And that's what I love so much about Will and Jada, because they was really honest and raw with each other in front of the world. And that's hard to do. But I don't want you to just get caught up in the Will and Jada celebrity thing, thinking that you can only be like that if you're a celebrity. Here's someone who's a non-celebrity, and she's telling you some of the techniques that really work. So continue.
In terms of directly about Will and Jada, right? What I loved about my caveat too with that, I've literally never watched any Red Table Talk.
Okay.
And I end up watching that one because everybody just kept coming to me about it. Like, everybody just kept coming to me about it, and I was just like, okay, let me see, and what I loved about it was not so much them coming to the table to talk about it, because in some ways, I don't know, but what I did love is I deal with magical women, and Jada's a magical woman, and magical women are difficult to support. Easy to love.
That's why I'm single.
Easy to love, difficult to support. You understand? Because we are complicated, we are empowered, we are 12 people. There's a lot of them. We are independent. Like, she's out living a whole independent life, and then if you've watched their journey over time, like there were times when she cut off her own creativity, and then she started feeling resentment, and they've shared like this. People talk about the Red Table Talk, it's so on brand for them. They've always shared. They've always been open, about their shit. And I mean, to me, I felt like you could, I think they've always had a partnership. When I look at them, I don't see romantic love. I feel like I've never seen romantic love in their relationship. It's not a lack of it, but like sometimes that's kind of the first thing you see. Like, I feel like they've always put the partnership before the romantic love, and I'm sure they have the romantic love, and they keep that very private. Yeah, they've made a responsibility, a concerted effort, right?
It's they're responsible. They know they're responsible for Black love and how that should be perceived, and that's why I think so many people really adore them, is because they have been very responsible. And the haters, which I told you in my video on Wednesday, is they've always had some form of resentment because of their success, because they are always doing something positive, because they're always thinking about the community as a whole. And so therefore they share with us in hopes that we take some of their nuggets and put it into our lives personally. You never see them trolling people. You never see them in any type of negative news. And so, like I was saying in my video Wednesday, for you to hate on them at this moment says a lot more about you than it does about them. And partnership, when it comes to marriage, that is the ultimate word, because for me, marriage is a contract. You really don't need the piece of paper and the ceremony if you just love someone and you want to be together forever. That's something you can just do without all of the churches and the preachers and all of the money. You know, it's an industry. And so a lot of times I think people want to be wives because they want the ring and they want the wedding and they want that whole accolade, and not really realize that they're committing themselves to a person, for better or for worse, under God's eye. And they getting it confused under their friends' fairy tale that Disney has, put out there. And it's just a fantasy. They're not really thinking. So when they do get into this relationship, it's hard because they've only been focused on the fantasy. And that's what I love what you talk about when you said shut the fuck up, and it's so hard to hear, is because, yeah, on both sides. But she's just talking from a wife's, point of view. Why it is important for you. Look at how they say we're bitter black women. That's a big thing that's going on. And I ask women to think about that. Are you bitter? Could it be the way that you were raised? Do you always have to say something? And think about it this way. It seems like they know how to shut the fuck up when the person is rich and famous. But if you got a good man, why can't you be obedient to a good man?
Be obedient to a good man. And also, a lot of what I hear too that really disturbs me, even more now. I'm hearing it less now, but mostly. So when I was in my 30s, I felt like more of my girlfriends or my peers. I was more into sort of talking about that because they were wanting to get married and it wasn't happening. It's a little different at this stage because most of my peers, if they're not married, they ain't checking for that situation. I mean, I know a lot of people still are, but in my circle, it's not that they don't want it. They're not checking for it like they were in their 30s, And so during that time, a big thing was, let's just be real. This Renaissance is about Black girl magic. We've brought this about. And so what happened is the gotcha, right? Everybody's a bad bitch. So what happened was we thought we was the bad bitches, right? And so it was sort of like, I'm a bad bitch. He need to do this. I got this job. I got this. All of a sudden, all our niggas going to jail, getting white women. Then there's only 10% of them, and we all 100% bad bitches. So a bad bitch becomes a floor when you sitting up in a relationship trying to get all this, I can talk back, I can do this, I can kick you out, I can say you ain't paying, you ain't shit. Just talking to niggas like they ain't got no worth because you's a bad bitch. He's like, oh, y'all bitches is bad. So that's a floor. You know what I mean? And then like we're human. We need companionship. So a lot of these bad bitches in public, talk about what they wouldn't do, giving people advices. And we know, we all have sets of good girlfriends, right? We know they ain't fucking with nobody like this when we going out or talking about it. But we know they got that boo. Always got that boo that ain't good ass man at home. He ain't good enough for you. He don't have no ambition. You got all the ambition. You missing this, and this. Like, people want so much out of a relationship, and I think at a certain age you say, here's the whole that I want, right? If you already got money, people be like, oh, I got my own money, I want somebody that got money too. That's fine. But if you 40, 45 ain't found it, you already got money. Hey, what else what you don't got? You know, because you can open that up, right? Like money is something that it's attainable, right? Like if you got money, right, and you get with a dude who don't really got money, and then you start taking him to the same places you go, people gonna assume he got money and start funneling it to him in ways that will surprise you, right? So like the beauty of me and my husband, right, is that, okay, so it was like this switch that happens. This is me letting y'all into my vault, right? Like, you know, okay, so we get together, we're 19. So I go to UC Berkeley and he goes to Cal State Hayward, right? So we're already this sort of, not to us, but not on par in terms of education, what the outside world considers. My advantage, like Charlotte told y'all, I'm from the hood. None of this shit mean anything to me. You know, like all I know is, like, I was a nerd, I got good grades. I didn't even go visit Berkeley. I just heard it was a good school. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't come from a place where I knew what that truly meant. I just knew what the best was. I was like, if I just go to the best, then I know that I have it, because I don't have anybody to take me to colleges or tell me. But I can read something that says, this is the best school. And I say, I'm just going to go to that. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm choosing. People be like, I'm choosing from Notre Dame or whatever. My mom's taking me on a tour. And I'm like, my mama, I ain't going to Greyhound. I ain't going away to New York on Greyhound. So if NYU gonna let me in, sight unseen, I believe in myself. You understand? Because I didn't have access to that, but I always had access to the end goal, because I was, you know, had good grades. I was able to talk a certain way. I looked a certain way, and I was from the hood. It was like I was always singled out. You know, it's sort of, I'm already smart, all these things, and I get extra points in all my situations because I'm from the hood, right? And so it let me into places, but I didn't really get true access until I was older and understood what that meant, because I was resentful of it, really, because I'm like, whatever, I had tunnel vision. I was like, they say we can't do, like, that was my goal. They say we can't do this, I'm gonna do it. You know, they say we can't do this, I'm gonna do it. Like, I didn't even think about what I want. Like, I didn't want to be a lawyer. I never even thought about being anything. Like, all I knew is everybody said, you know, oh man, you good, you know, spoke what, you know, you gonna be a lawyer. So I'm like, oh, is that what I'm gonna be? It's like the Will and Jada of it, right? I knew that I needed to be whatever I needed to be in order to be the representative that God had placed for my life. Okay. And I didn't have any other thoughts of what I wanted to be. Like, I come from people who are, I shouldn't say not nothing, because they everything. But you
come from humble beginnings.
Right. So my grandmother has 13 kids. So we grew up in the Pueblos, the projects, right? And then I moved to the hood, 99th and Figueroa, South Central. But so of the 13, it was only 2 who had traditional jobs my whole life. You know, the projects itself, like, people got Section 8 and, you know, food stamps. The projects, that's a whole nother level. Like, it's like you're in a territory of the government. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to have, like, no one's expecting anybody to work in that. Like, you know what I mean? It's not, so the concept of even careers and jobs, like, people like, oh, my parents, you know, worked as a bus driver and they worked really hard. Like, people didn't have jobs, and not in some negative way. It was just like, that's what I come from. Like, it just, you know, like, I don't even know how to explain it. You got 15 kids, they each get a check, $500. You can live pretty good. Just keep having more. Like,
right. And that's real talk.
Look, I want a bigger unit.
That's real talk.
I want a bigger unit to live in. What you do? have another kid, then you're eligible at a different level, and you can get a 4-bedroom.
And there's a lot of people still living like that today.
Yeah,
it's a system.
It is. And the thing is, like, as much as, like, this is why I talk about critical race theory, because, you know, even your instinct there was to be like, there's people, you know, and the thing is, if you have a different perspective, it's kind of dope. Like it's not it feels negative. You like do all this, but like, what for? Like, if I'm gonna be able to like live an authentic life, like I felt like I loved my life in the project. It was community. Everybody looked out for each other. You know, bad shit happens. Not that, you know, I get why other people's perspectives are the way they are, but when I moved outside of that world and people felt so much better about themselves, if I looked at it subjectively, not take on the world's perspective, like I always felt that was losing, you know? Even with the like whole thing about there's no dads in our community, that type of thing, then I start meeting people from other cultures, and it seemed, or people who did have dads and all this, and it seemed like it wasn't that much of a fucking advantage to have, you know? Like, my first experience outside of the hood, I was bused to school in the Valley, and it would be like the father figure was this, you know, these kids were like highly competitive in 6th, 7th grade. Like, they were angry at me because I took somebody's spot. Like, I didn't want to be there. I'm taking an hour and a half on the fucking school bus. You get what I'm saying? Like, to go someplace I don't want to be around people who don't want me there, you know? And that shaped a lot of my thought, because that's how I got on that tunnel vision. It was sort of like, I'm not trying to become them. I'm just like, my mama sent me here, you know, and my 4th and 5th grade teacher who loved me, Mr. Savage and Mr. Willis, I know they did the paperwork for me. Like, I know my mama didn't know to do this, so I trust them. It feels very isolated and it feels like punishment, but I trust them. Everybody in my whole life is going to Bret Hart, and little old one person me is being shipped off to some school that's called Gaspar de Portola. You know what I'm saying? And they dropping off motherfuckers in limos at the door, and us all his like 40 motherfuckers getting off a school bus. You know what I'm saying? And they live in we coming into their world. And so my first encounter with white people was Jews. You know, and so that's a unique little niche to begin with anyway. And so,
So that is probably why you are so good. A lot of people don't know this, but you do a lot of research when it comes to grants, and you also do the stock, you know. That's another thing about the wifey. You got to talk about how you make money from the bed, in a sense. Because you may not want to give all those secrets out.
Of course, but whatever I can give.
Going back to, if you have the money and you find a man that you're interested in and he doesn't, why not take your money, y'all come together and you figure out what his strengths are and you flip it. See, I'm all about that flipping it. And you're flipping your husband's income and she's flipping it with stocks, because that's something she could do. So if you want to be a wife at home and just want to sit at home, there's a way to sit at home, okay? You don't have to just sit at home. You can sit at home and flip some money and bring in even more. And I think that goes back to the relationship that we, in our community, we have a very poor relationship with money, where we almost feel like we don't deserve it. Too many of us have gotten comfortable with it being handed to us, whether that's welfare or SSI or SSD. Some people feel like that entitlement, that they're just supposed to receive money without doing anything for it. Like you said, or have more kids, you know, that's the only investment.
Which is a lot of work.
Right, you know, which is another investment. So, you know, I want you guys to really think a little differently, because it is a shortage. We're losing a lot of our black men because of that emotional side that we can't control, that ego, being the bad bitch, knowing you can do it on your own, not willing to be obedient, not willing to listen, not willing to share. And that is something that I want to talk about with the money situation. Because of your whole living in the projects, being bused to this world that you really didn't even want, you were comfortable with your village, seeing your people, and it didn't matter if a father figure was there or not because it was a village, so you didn't see it. So having to go and seeing these rich kids who are just aggressive and they have a different way of life, like you said, there was 40 of you on the bus going into this community. So you've always had that community thing. And now you're in Harlem, you feel like you're in the Black Wall Street. Yeah. You were saying that. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that I feel is when people are like her, I consider her way up there because of the education, but she does stocks and she knows about grants, but she's very giving. She shares that information with people because a lot of times we don't know it's even out there. I know I'm one of them. I don't look for grants. I'm one of these people that feel like I gotta work hard. Instead of working smarter, I work harder, and that's something I'm working on. You're someone that works smart. She like, fuck the hard shit. I got some smart ways that you can get, $1 million. Yeah. And that's the difference. That mentality, we're going to have to start opening ourselves up for that mentality and to share. And so it goes from the relationship with your mate, but also just to your friends and to your community. Why not share? So a lot of people will have the links to the SBA. And they filled it out for themselves, but they didn't share with any of their friends. She sent it out to a group of people, and she got a lot of feedback. Some of it was negative out of fear. I remember when she sent it to me, I sent it to 4 other people, not thinking I deserve it. I was like, oh, nah. 1, I was lazy. I just didn't even want to try to fill out the thing. 2, it was doubt and fear, insecurity. I was like, oh, they're not going to give it to me, but I'm going to give it to 4 other people who I think deserve it because I didn't feel I did. So one of the 4 that I sent it to, she sent it to one of the 4. So it came from 2. And I'm a firm believer that 2 or more in a room with God, you watch God work. So it came from her and it came from another friend that I passed it on. And he said, wow, I got the same link from you and from the Muse. So a lot of people have these opportunities, but fear, and people who have the information like LaNora, who shares, but then there's a lot of people who don't. So why do you think a lot of people who have the education and have that information, why do you think, because you even admitted that it was hard to hear people come with like conspiracy theories, some even came with attitude, and it was hard for her to be like, I'm trying to give you money. I'm trying to give you money. So explain a little bit how that felt, and do you think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't like to share that information? Do they feel like it's out there for us to go get it, and if we don't, that's just on us?
I do. I think, one, you deal with your own first. Like as much as I'm, like you said, I know all these things, I still struggle with it on the first, like my first instinct is the struggle. Like I haven't lost any of my tendency to be the way that we are. Mm-hmm. So then what I do have is this other layer of myself that pushes past it. And so what I'll do when I feel that, I'll be like, that's me feeling the energy of my community. And then I receive that, right? And I'm part of my community. Like if people like sometimes get enlightened and they're like, and what you need to do it. No, like this goes back to the mad scientist. I get all my advice from myself, from what I need to do. So, I'll see things and it's scary. Like you don't want to get another denial, or, like sometimes you just, this is why I had to not get angry. Like sometimes you just ain't trying to hear one more no, or you just gave 10 things your hope that didn't work out, and you like, And then somebody come, no, baby girl, this guaranteed. And you're like, how many times you fucking heard that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that disappointment could add up, and it becomes a part of you, and that's what keeps us down. And so that's what creates systemic things. And then we want to be like, they did this to us. Well, in one way of thinking, yes. But also, at this point, nobody's doing nothing to us because the system is working. So, like, no one's thinking about you because the system's working on its own. And so, my advice wouldn't be to everyone. My advice is to the people like me and Charlotte who have communities that let you blossom a little, right? So, you know, I can sit around trying to educate and tell you to, you know, check out I got this video and it's 4 steps to this and that, and that's beautiful for people who are in a position to be ready, like, you know, for that. And those to me are the people that I talk to, because like, who motivates the motivators, right? That's me, the muse. And so as much as like Charlotte has a bigger audience than that. Like, she's direct to the people, right? So my thing is, I'm direct to the people, my people. And so like, what I've learned to do is say, oh my God, I feel this fear or whatever. And it's like, I'm like, everybody apply for this. Even if you get denied, you get a free $1,000 grant, you know? And all they thinking about is the getting denied, or that sound like a scam, or, you know, my LLC ain't together all the way. I said, you know what though? Like, that's all true and real, except right now. Like, they relaxing everything, bitch. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's language, because a lot of times when we get enlightened, we stop talking the language of the people that we love. Right. And then what happens? They stop listening. Yeah. Or they start sort of looking up to you in a way that makes them not be able to, like, come to you a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's sort of like, well, dang, LaNora's like doing her thing. You know, do I call her? No. You know you can come, you know what I mean? Like, because I'm going to come at it a certain way, but that also allows me to be like, girl, do it because I fucking said to do it. You know what I'm saying? And I don't have to go back and forth, because, and you actually helped me with that directly, because I was honest with you about, you know, like, because you okay. So this is your show. I can say what directly happened with us, right? Yeah. So you, Miss Charlotte, I'm like, Charlotte, and Charlotte's a person, she don't give me resistance. So like, you were the perfect person for it to happen with. You know, you didn't give me that much. I mean, you pretty much, you gave me resistance, and like, I was shocked that you were. I ain't gonna lie, I was shocked.
Because I never did resistance. But money. Like I said, the relationship that we have with money is serious.
I was like, get this $1,000. It's free. That you were like, you know, I work so hard and I'm almost debt free and I'm not taking nothing. I said, I get that, baby girl. Yeah. I said, I get it. I said, but this is a little different, baby. Yeah. This is a once in a lifetime thing, baby. This ain't going on your credit, baby. You ain't got to think about this for a year. This is gonna increase. This is gonna go on your business credit, and even if it don't, they just gonna give you $1,000 for doing it, right? And then like, it was so beautiful, all the people who listened, because a lot of it was just, I felt like it was God's incentive for us to get our basic paperwork together. We all entrepreneurs, and it's like, dang, is my LLC up to date? Oh shit. Like, you know, do I need a DBA? Like, these little things that we've been hustling 20 years and don't know, like, let's be real. I needed to get the money. Like, I had to pay 4 back payments of $400. Right. To, like, because I hadn't been every 2 years filing my LLC. I'm just working. I ain't even, you know, like my business is not, I don't think of my business in that way. Like she said, most of my money comes.
We know from some powerful people.
Different ways. It's not, I'm not taking invoices. Just say that, you know. And so, you know, it was like my paperwork needed to still be good in that way. And even I was letting it slide. I'm a lawyer. litigator. Like, I know the importance of all that contract stuff. And so, like, for me to, like, even be tacky like that wasn't cute. And in, like, 1 second, I'm like, okay, so if I can get X amount, then it becomes worth it for me to pay, you know, $1,600 to get my shit right. But if I'm not, you know, make it, like, it's not hurting me to not have it.
Exactly.
And so, to me, that was the biggest thing that it helped, because everybody's like, you know, well, I'm just a whatever. I'm just a independent contractor. Yep. I said, it's different. Read the, just trust me. They're doing something different right now. They're doing something different, and they don't even know that they're doing it.
Right.
You know. So just don't think about it. Just push these buttons.
And it kind of goes back to the shut the fuck up and listen.
Right.
So it was so funny when I sent it to the other. I have 4 independent, you know, very successful people that have their businesses, and when the one, he said, "Oh, LaNora sent this to me." Well, he said the Muse sent it to me, and he said, "Well, why are you, you know, not filling it out?" And I had my, you know, reasons. Oh, you know, I don't want to owe anybody. I'm good. You know, I got my strategy. He's like, yeah, but it's free money. Why wouldn't you take free money? Oh, well, I'm giving it to you guys because I feel like you guys really could use it. You really need it. And he was just like, girl. And I had to shut up and I had to listen, because 2 people are telling me, shut the fuck up and listen. And I think that's our problem. We have so much fear and so much insecurity with money that there's a lot of opportunities out here for us, but we would rather say, oh, we're not going to get it because, you know, we're black, or I'm a woman, or I'm an LGBT. We say no to ourselves too often. Let them say no to us, but don't say no to yourself and cheat yourself out of $1,000. So with that $1,000, I might be able to do some advertising on YouTube for this damn channel, okay? Yeah. And that's a blessing from the Muse. But I really appreciate that she didn't just hold on to that information, take care of herself, get her grant, get her loans. She shared that with her community. She shared that, and then I shared it. And that's what we need to do more, because she passed it to me. I passed the blessing on to 4 other people. Those 4 other people probably blessed some other people, and then that's how more people got it. But if you look, it was even on the Breakfast Club, where they were saying how many black people did not apply for the SBA loan. There's a lot of black people who could have used that $1,000, and they was giving it to you if you listen more. There's a lot of things you can learn, and there's a lot of advantages and opportunities for you, instead of always fighting and letting the ego and your fear take over, because then you can't take the blessing, you can't hear it. And so I'm someone who still really don't like to look for grants. I don't like to look for loans, but I'm lucky because I have a Muse. She will send it to me, and she will, you know, if she feels there's something for me, she'll send it to me, and I'll send it to others. But what I would say is we should take the time and we should take the efforts to look for this. If you're serious about your business, if you're serious about wanting to start something, there are a lot of opportunities that are out here. But if you yourself don't believe it, just because you're afraid to, you're going to miss out. Yeah. And so.
Yeah, and another thing is I have like an internal rule, because we have all these belief systems. And my thing is, until you do it yourself, you can't say, well, we don't get it. Because it's true, a lot of stuff we don't get. And I'll caveat this. You should always be applying, always looking for stuff. And like, this is a life hack with looking for stuff, is to do it all the time. If you do it and then wait to see, like, you're never gonna make it through, because there's gonna be so many more no's. Mm-hmm. So if you're waiting, you're like, my application was good. Mm-hmm. I know I'm, half the things that are put out really already have, they know who they're gonna give it to.
Nepotism.
So, right. And that, to me, that's not a problem. And so I understand why people don't want to apply for things. This, though, is a unique situation right now, like literally. So we're talking in general, but I'm talking specifically about right now. Like, everything is relaxed. All the rules are relaxed. Like, all the barriers are down. It's sort of, you don't have to have all the proper paperwork. You don't have to, you know what I mean? Like all this stuff is, it's all the stuff we want to complain about is eliminated, and we still have the same fear. And I understand it, but like, stop. Right. Like even looking for grants, you're like, well, they're only gonna give it to this many people. People are putting money into stuff that's a big amount of money, and they're saying we gonna give until people stop giving to us, we gonna give this $10,000 grant, this as opposed to there's 5 grants and there's 5,000 applicants and there's a juried,
right.
not that you shouldn't go out for those, but that's to me a little bit more understandable because it takes so much to do a proposal and have your paperwork. You got to have an accountant and all these things that even if you want to be
right
having it together, if you haven't got that first 10,000, that's a magic number they say in small businesses. So there's times when it's harder. Right now ain't one of them times. They're trying to like stimulate the economy, so they're relaxing all these rules, and if I call you and say apply, like right now, apply for everything that they have, because you're not gonna have to, well, are they gonna do this? No, it's just a good time.
And when you say apply everything they have, what kind of loans? You're talking about grants. We're talking about grants.
I prefer grants.
So explain that a little bit for people who may not really understand grants.
Okay, so the biggest one right now was that SBS, so we'll just keep using that one as an example. Okay, so there was one portion that was grants, which means you're getting an amount of money that you do not have to pay back at all. And then it was tied to applying for these loans, right? And so I don't know why they did it that way. I think initially it was they wanted people to apply for the loans, but they wanted to give you something quick. And so they were calling it in advance, right? And sort of like right now, oh my God, best thing freaking ever. If nobody does, look, this is where we can get some actual advice. It's going up on Saturday, right? Okay. Everybody in the world, you ain't had a job in 20 years. You've been off the grid. You can get unemployment right now. Search pandemic unemployment. Like apply straight through the pandemic one, and it'll lead you to your state. But don't, because you're like, I ain't had a job, and this. If you been watching your kids at home, if you an entrepreneur who ain't never made a dime, you know what I'm saying? You somebody wife, you get what I'm saying, who don't have an income, but you feel like, well, it's a hard time. Like I'm a wife right now. Right. I'm doing my unemployment because I'm unemployed. I have a business that I run. You get what I'm saying? That I can't do what I'm doing right now. Like I'm unemployed. I'm making nothing. And as a person who like you can even hear me saying it, right? I'm like, am I taking resources from someone? Bitch, you broke right now. Like, it's one thing to think about yourself a certain way, and it's another thing to act ignorant in your private time and really be doing that for real, right?
So faking it till you make it so, in your own world.
Like people who too proud to go get food stamps or something like that. Thank God, which I understood back in the day, but now it's an EBT card. It's like that, because I think a lot of what the government was doing was purposely putting a scarlet letter on you by giving you some shit that looked different than what everybody else have. So it's like, I grew up in the hood, and so like everybody had food stamps. So we would go to the ice cream truck with our fucking food. You know what I'm saying? Like it was nothing, you know. And like even when my mom was out of the projects and couldn't get it, you buy food stamps from others, and it's just is what it is. And so it's funny because in New York they have a stimulus thing where they're giving literally every single student in all of New York City school districts a EBT card if they're eligible for free lunch. Well,
nice.
in New York City, every student is eligible for free lunch. So everybody with a kid, each kid is gonna get an EBT card for $420. So my husband is so excited just because psychologically, so he from the hood too, but a different. So like I'm from the projects, like he's from like San Leandro, Oakland or whatever, and he had a 2-parent, household, and his mother, it was
different than yours.
It was a little different. He's same. We from the same, like we're the same.
Just a different kind.
But we're a different kind of the same, right? Like I know from food stamps, He don't know from food stamps, And so like for him, it's sort of like, oh, like EBT card. I said, and he does the grocery shopping, so I'm like, yep, babe, I'm waiting for it. Like I actually just want to see it, and like have the experience. But like, there's a lot of people. So my daughter goes to fancy school, and so people were like, can we donate our, EBT?
Sure.
No, EBT said no. They're like, send it back. We'll give it to some more poor people. Like you can't just distribute it to who else. The teachers. They're like, her school sent. She was like, if parents don't want to use theirs, send it to them. And then they got a letter from the state saying you can't just be using other people's, because what they're gonna do. Like they send it. It's like the parents to send it to. It's like. Stacking them up, but instantly people wanted to know, like, how can I give this back? Because they had this sense that they were not in need. But like, we're in a pandemic, we're all in need, and not only that, the point was to stimulate the economy. So that's $420 to put in. You're not doing anything unethical.
So where should it go again? Tell them where to go again.
For the
unemployment.
For the pandemic unemployment. So Google PUA, pandemic unemployment, which is different than regular unemployment because you don't need a prior job, and you could be an independent contractor. In any way that you're lost in this situation. So even if you weren't getting income, if you were a stay-at-home mom, that's an income. What you're doing is bartering with yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had to work, you would have to hire someone to do all the things that you do.
Right.
What value would that have for you? And you can use that value right now to get unemployment.
See, that's a nugget right there.
That's a nugget.
Okay, so hopefully you would take
that's a nugget
and get your unemployment. I'll Google it for you, put it in the description. So all you got to do is hit
click the
link. Okay, this is a nugget. So that's all I really wanted to share is really shut the fuck up in your relationship to someone that's worthy, not just randoms. Okay. This is when you're really in a committed, loving relationship. As a wife, learn how to stand in your lane and listen to the criticism and grow from it. Or just listen when he's frustrated, when he's stressed out,
when he's angry.
Just let him have the floor and just listen.
And how I convince a lot of people to do it, what men have figured out based on women doing that, they get away with a lot of dirt too, because what they'll do is do something wrong, right? And you'll come all pop. They're like, keep your voice down. Da-da-da. So it go from, so you done fuck someone, and now we arguing because I'm yelling or I'm hitting or I'm doing all this stuff, which becomes the issue. They're like, you crazy woman, don't you putting your hands on me? I'm out of here. All of a sudden, you like, don't go there. You done changed the whole thing. You done lost all your power, feeling empowered. Now, if you sit there and know that this motherfucker did some shit, and you calm as a whatever, listening, there's no fire for him. Like, he's in it.
Yep.
He is in it. Like, you by yourself out there. You ain't got me to go, well, what you talking about?
Right.
I'm sitting there like this. So all you see, like if my husband is feeling something, like I just listen. I'll be sitting in my head. This motherfucker don't know what he talking about. He don't want to tell me about me. He talking about I didn't do this. He didn't do this. Da-da. He ain't hearing none of that. He's seeing me be like, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. And at first it comes with anger, and as he continues talking, he's like, I just wanted to be like this. Our family's good. I'm just trying. It'll go from. But if I had come back at him it would have turned into something different. And then once he sees that I hear it and we're calm, and and then later I can be like, then I can tell it pretty much. I've opened myself up to be able to, like, remember when I listened to you about that?
Exactly.
Let me tell you.
Exactly.
You do,
And that's what I loved about the Will and Jada conversations, because they were really having a communicative conversation. They were listening to each other, but they was also teaching the world at the same time. And I think we should just take something from that, and hopefully this has helped you in your situation. As always, leave it in the comment. You do not have to agree. You can disagree. We're all grown. We're all sexy. It's okay. Just keep it cute. Any hate, it will get deleted. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, please like and subscribe and share with someone you care about, especially the unemployment. Definitely share that nugget.
Yes.
And if you're watching this on my Facebook page, like my page and share. And if you're watching this on my IGTV, follow me and share. And until next week, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.